You know what? My microphone wasn't turned on. Well, the first half of this chapter didn't have sound. Whoops. Wow. Feel sorry for the people that aren't here. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, the guy was looking at me like, why are you doing that? It's so inefficient. Well, having different methods is so inefficient. But the whole centimeter got me off because that's a European thing. But so set height with one argument, obviously, or two arguments, they are different. So that's called method overloading. All right? Man, that was a whole like 10 minutes or
that can get
20
confusing
minutes.
if you use it. If you use it in the real world and you really, like you have 20 different versions of something with the same name.
Right.
I mean, it can get.
Yes, it can. I don't know if I'd have that many of them, but like we did that cat program. We had to set the name, set the age, set the weight, whatever. You could have just made a method called set. Because name is a string, age was an integer, weight was a double, clause was a boolean. The only issue would have been with the breed, because that was a string as well. But then all you got to worry about is set. Okay? All right. And turn the microphone on. I can't believe I did that. Oh, well. Someone's going around here and turning all these microphones off. I don't know why. Why don't I just leave them on? All right. So here's our driver. We call set height. Passing it a double and a string of integers. Then we print it. Then we have set height just passing it 180. Now, what type, or instead of integers, will 180 be an integer or a centimeter?
Centimeter.
It'll be in inches, because we didn't pass it one. Okay, so
It'll be centimeters, right?
Yeah, it'll be centimeters. Yes, did I say inches?
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be centimeters. Okay, so for each set height call, what method is called on the previous slide? So 72 in IN would call this second one right here. Okay, right here. 180 with no other argument would call the top one, so it would be a centimeters. It would call this guy. All right. Okay, so what's the output? Let's look at print. What's print output? Print has print line, says this dot height space this dot units. So the first one's going to put out 72.0 space IN. The second one's going to print out 180.0 space CM. Easy enough? All right, so suppose you have overloaded methods and you're inside one of the methods. Note that it's okay to call the other method. You very easily can. You can call one method from another method. Okay, so if I receive, if I've set height with one argument, I can actually call the set height with the two arguments and pass it to CM. Everybody see that? So let's look at the difference. There it is with one argument. We set this dot height equals height, this dot units equals CM. We can actually replace that with set height, passing in height, comma CM. So what do you think? Which way is better? I like this way better. Because then I'm actually calling this dot whatever only one time. I'm only saving it in one place. I'm real big on trying to do something one time, if I can. That way, if it's done right, it's done right. So, all right, constructors. All right. So up to this point, we've used mutators to assign values. Works okay, but it's basically we have to create it and then call a mutator. Well, another way we can do it is when we create the car. Okay, and this example here, in the middle, it says car Alex car equals new car. So we created a new object called Alex car. Then Alex car.init car, in other words, initialize the car, and it's going to be a Porsche 2006 and it'll be beige. Easy enough. Okay, we could have done that all at one time. We could have said car Alex car equal new car, passing it those same values. So what's happening is we're making our life easier. Okay, let's look at the code for it. He didn't give us the code for it. Well, that sucks. All right, but you can't. Well, he might. So, it says the constructor lets you specify what happens to an object when you instantiate it with new, because the constructor doesn't have to be blank. Okay. Whenever you call new, it automatically calls the constructor, and we're going to look at one here in a minute. The constructor's name is always the object's name, and it's always public. Okay. It says, don't put a type on the left side other than public. Now we're going to see an example of one. Okay. So here we go. We got our driver class for car 4. Okay. Car 4 is Joby's car and prime car. Okay, Joby car and prime car. Joby car is equal to a new car 4, and it's going to be a 2006 beige Porsche. Prime car is going to be a 2002 red Saturn. Which would you rather have, you think?
Porsche.
I don't know.
I guess it depends on the gas prices.
It depends on gas prices.
I don't care. You want a Porsche?
I'd say this. You don't care either one, the Porsche? Oh, yeah. No. Sorry, dude.
There's nothing else I can say.
I haven't bought gas since October, and it's now April. You know what's going to happen shortly, though?
If you fill up, you don't know where to put it.
No. No, my car, every 6 weeks, it runs the engine for about 5 minutes to lubricate and check everything out. And it tests the quality of the gas. Gas breaks down over time. And they say after the gas gets older, when it detects that the gas is starting to go bad, it'll sit there and burn half my tank. I'm like, no! It's going to waste my gas. So that's going to suck. I've gone just over 4,000 miles on 2 gallons so far.
Off
Terrible.
topic, but did you get the federal tax credit for that?
$7,500.
Did you get that all at once, or do you have to space that out over years?
Well, it's going to be all at once once they get done with my audit. They're auditing me. Not because of that.
Yeah.
I have very large charitable contributions, and yeah, they're auditing that. I mean, I have proof of all of it. They're just verifying all the paperwork, going whatever. It's like, darn it. Instead of a $15,000 refund, I got a $400 refund. I was like, what the heck? Yeah. So, but I mean, I know I'll get it because I have all the proof. I just got to wait for them to do their stuff. So about another 2 weeks, they should be finished, they're saying. All right. So now let's look at car 4. Now, rather than having it in a method, now we have our constructor here. So line 1 is our constructor. You'll notice this is public car 4. No return type, nothing else. Public car 4. And car 4 has to match the class name. Then inside of the parentheses, we can put whatever arguments we want to receive. So we're going to receive an M, a Y, and a C. So do you think M, Y, and C are good variable names? Not really. I mean, it's make, year, and color, but it's probably not the best option for variable names. I try to use a little more, explaining, kind of like we talked about last class period when we went through that program. Try to use names that mean something. But, it's fine. So this dot make is equal to M, so the argument received for M is the make, saves it. Now, since he did it that way, did he really need this dot? He could have left the this off. He could have left this dot off because M, Y, and C are not duplicate names. They're different, so it would have worked. Either way, it would have been fine. Okay. All right. So here's our definition. So style requirements, put constructors above the class methods. Constructors should always be at the top. It's like main methods should always be at the top for the most part. Stuff like that. Okay. All right. So it says anytime you instantiate an object with new, there must be a matching constructor. So if I am calling this over here with new car 4, just like that, I must have a constructor that takes 3 objects. Now what if I also just said new, what if I said car 4 Ken car equals new car 4 with nothing in the parentheses? Would it error out? Yes, it would. Because here I have a constructor with 3 arguments, and that's it. So if you don't specify any constructors at all, it'll automatically make a default constructor for you. But once you specify one, you need to put the rest in there if you need them. So it says, anytime you instantiate one, there must be a matching constructor. That is, the number and types of arguments in the constructor must match the number and types of parameters in the defined constructor. Until recently, we haven't done a darn thing. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with them because it automatically creates the default constructor for you. So the Java compiler automatically provides an empty-bodied, zero-parameter default constructor for a class if and only if you didn't specify any. Okay? So the empty on the next slide right here, you notice there's no constructor. Okay? There's no constructor at all. The driver at the bottom says employee on line 2, employee EMP equals new employee. we need a constructor. But since I did not specify one, Java is basically like, okay, fine, I'll make it for you. So it did it for me, and it will compile perfectly. Okay? But this one here, down here at number 1 at the bottom, when we call employee2 waitress equals new employee Wen Zheng, that constructor will call the constructor up at position 2 on the slide. Because we're passing it one argument, so we need a constructor with one argument. Okay? No problem at all. But the next line at the bottom, down by position 1, employee2 hostess equals new employee2, it will no longer function. Because it's saying, what Java is basically saying is, okay, if you're so smart, you're going to make your own constructor, you got to make them all. It's kind of like kids. Some of us have kids. When they were really young, who tied their shoes? We tied their shoes. But what happens when they learn to tie shoes? They're tying them from that day forward. Once we learn to make our own constructors, Java's like, you're old enough now, make your own darn constructors. I ain't making it for you. It's basically what happens. Basically what happens. Okay? Easy enough? Alright. It says constructor overloading occurs when you have 2 or more constructors with the same name and different parameters. So to call an overloaded constructor from another constructor, put in this and then the arguments, which we'll see. Okay? A this constructor call may appear only in the constructor definition. It must appear as the very first statement. Let's look at an example of one. Alright. So we have a fraction class. This is kind of similar to what you guys might be working on. Alright? So we have a constructor up at position 2 that takes an integer as an argument. And for n, stands for numerator. Then it says this n comma 1. It's basically saying if you're creating a fraction and all you give me is the number 6, it's going to assume the 1. Because isn't a 6 the same thing as a 6 over 1?
Yep.
That's what it's saying is, oh, if you only pass me a 6, obviously you meant 6 over 1. So the constructor there that takes one argument automatically assumes the over 1. Okay? The second one, down at position 3. Fraction takes 2 arguments. Okay? Now, takes an n and a d, numerator and denominator. The numerator gets set to numerator and the denominator gets set to denominator. Excuse me. And the quotient gets set as well. Alright? Now, position 5. Position 5 has this, parentheses, n comma 1. So when I called the position 2, when I called the fraction constructor with one argument, automatically called position 5 this n comma 1. What that means is it called another constructor, another fraction constructor that takes 2 arguments. So position 5, it automatically called position 3. So what it did is it passed it down to position 3. So that 6 I sent it, when I sent it just to 6, it automatically passed the 6 and a 1 down to position 3. Okay? So it says, oh, Ken forgot the 1. We'll add 1 for him, and then we'll create his fraction. The driver on the next line, on the next side of the page there in 37. All right. Number 3. Fraction A equals new fraction 3 comma 4. That called number 3 on the left. It's a constructor with 2 arguments. We passed both arguments to it, and it created it. No problem at all. Number 4 on the right. Now we're calling fraction B, a new fraction called B. It's equal to a new fraction, passing it just the number 3. That called position 2 on the left. So we passed it 3. And what that did is it passed that 3 and a 1 back down to position 3. So really the only one that's actually doing anything is position number 3, where it's actually creating the option. The other stuff, it's kind of saying, you know, if I pass it just an argument thing, it passes it down along with the number 1. Are you okay with that? Pretty simple? Pretty simple stuff? Okay. Ah, we're almost done with this chapter. Alright, let's talk about a quiz here. Overloaded methods are methods that have more parameters than the maximum number of parameters allowed. What do you think?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a maximum number. Share memory space with tendril instance variables. What the hell's a tendril instance variable? Okay. C, have the same name and different parameters. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. All right. Let's go to number 3. A constructor is automatically called when a Boolean variable is used. No. An object is instantiated with new. Yes. Method calls another method. No. And number 1, maybe? Okay. Which language uses pointers? Java, C++, or Visual Basic?
Visual Basic.
Uses pointers?
Pointers.
C++.
C++.
As an actual.
Java kind of does, but it really doesn't. It kind of...
It's a functionality and not
Right,
a command.
exactly. It doesn't use them, but it kind of does. It's behind the scenes for us. If you take a C++ class, yeah, they're really different. Java somewhat does it. It's kind of like when you pass it an object, we're really pointing to where it's stored in memory. In C++, you can actually manipulate that. Java, you really can't. They said, you know what, we're going to take care of this for you and kind of hide it. All right? Are we okay with Chapter 7? All right.